Thank you everyone who signed up for our Leap Family webinar. It's great to see you here. We will start with formal introductions shortly, but before we get started, we'll go through some initial housekeeping items. Today's webinar will run for approximately 50 minutes in listen-only mode. We welcome all participants to enter questions into the GoToWebinar chat window, where we have allotted time at the end to respond to your questions during our Q&A. Today's session will be recorded and will be sent to all registrants in the format of a follow-up email, approximately a week after today's event. My name is Jennifer Lee, and I am the Director of Canadian Content at Leap Canada. Before joining Leap, one of the areas of law that I practiced was family law, so it's been exciting to be a part of developing content and tools that will assist family law practitioners.
And I'm Christine Montgomery, the Director of Family Law Content and Education at DivorceMate. Prior to coming on board with DivorceMate 18 years ago, I was a family lawyer in private practice for a number of years, so I come at the software with that legal lens. I'm thrilled by our new partnership with Leap and know that family lawyers will benefit from this integrated solution.
My name is Daniela, and I'm a legal research specialist at Leap. My role is to research legal processes, legislation, case law, and required forms for different areas of law. I used to be a practicing family lawyer and understand the importance of being efficient and mindful of time. I use this practical experience in my role.
Founded in 1992, Leap has been servicing law firms around the globe with over 61,000 users worldwide. Leap occupies a unique position in the legal software market as it includes practice management, legal accounting, document assembly and management, as well as many of the traditional legal publishing assets, all in one solution.
Founded in 1987, DivorceMate Software Inc. is the leading provider of family law software in Canada with over 8,000 customers. The trusted family law software brand is used by thousands of family law professionals and members of the Canadian judiciary. DivorceMate's products are cloud-based and include tools for support calculations, forms for completing day-to-day court forms, and precedents for drafting agreements.
For the remainder of our time together, Christine, Daniela, and I will be providing training on various components of the family law offering in Leap. This will include training on using Leap's Family Matter types and tables, financial forms 13, 13.1, 13b, and 13c that have functional parity with DivorceMate's financial forms, Ontario Family Court forms, Family Starter documents, DivorceMate's domestic contracts in the Leap library, and the DivorceMate Tools Calculations app, accessed right from within your Family Matter. Through this presentation, you will come to see that Leap increases efficiency by eliminating the need to work in two different systems, reducing any unnecessary double entry. As a full practice productivity solution that includes legal accounting, you can also save valuable time on processes like docketing by using the convenient time-save and close feature when working on forms and precedents. Also, thanks to the Outlook integration in Leap, all correspondence and documents received and sent are saved right into the Matters Details and Correspondence tab, meaning there is no longer a need to move and save files in multiple places. After the demonstrations, we will respond to as many of your questions as we can. We will begin with a review of our Family Matter types and tables. We have aligned our subcategories of family law matter types with those in DivorceMate. Let's begin with creating a new divorce and separation matter. Client and other side options change depending on the matter type you have chosen and the needs of the user. It is an important first step to make sure you set the client and other side options correctly. As you can see in this divorce and separation matter, I have to choose whether the client is the applicant, respondent, added applicant, or added respondent. You could also select client if litigation has not commenced. In the case where I'm representing a child as an OCL lawyer, I would choose the OCL option. In this scenario, I will choose applicant as my client. If you're ever in the situation where the client and other side options were set incorrectly when you first created the matter, or if litigation commences and these selections need to be revised, you can easily do so by right-clicking on the matter type table you see here, and then select Open Matter Type. And this will take you back to that first window, and you can change your tables accordingly, which will reset your tables. In Leap, tables are the cornerstone of your database, and when you open a matter, you will see default tables specifically tailored to collect the information required for the matter type you have created. For example, the default tables you see here on the divorce matter include cards such as court and relevant layouts like marriage, relationship, and separation details. By contrast, a child protection matter like the one I've opened here will by default have cards like the Family Responsibility Office. Our content team has researched what people, entities, and information tables should automatically be included in a matter, but users have the ability to add or delete these tables as they need. This can be done by going into Edit Table Types by clicking right on any blank space in the Details area here and selecting or deselecting the desired tables. Cards are a table type that is used for entities, for example, people, businesses, and organizations, and collect information for preset fields. The Children's Lawyer table is an example of a card. In a case where a child has an OCL lawyer that is not the user, you would edit the table types to add a Children's Lawyer card. The lawyer's information should then be filled out in the Children's Lawyer card. Meanwhile, layouts are a table type that allow the user to organize matter-specific information. An important example of a layout you should fill out if a child is involved in the matter is child details. Upon filling out the child card, users will notice that the linked child details layout will appear. In this layout, the user will be presented a snapshot of pertinent child details, including whether the user is themselves representing the child, and if not, who their counsel is. This layout should be filled out after the child and children's lawyer card has first been filled out, as it will pull in and populate that information as an option in the drop-down of names. In addition to essential information, our tables can accommodate multiple parties. If there are multiple applicants or respondents or children in the matter, you have to right-click on the existing card. For instance, I will right-click on Applicant and select New Applicant to add another applicant to the file. We will now discuss financial forms. Leap's financial forms are meticulously crafted to perform complex mathematical calculations. They perform the same calculations and data transfer between forms as seen in DivorceMate's version of the forms. However, it is done in the Leap way, in which the data input process will differ. As we view it together, we hope you will see its appeal. We will begin by demoing Form 13.1, which is the financial statement for property and support claims, which includes many of the same add-in fields and functionalities as Form 13. We will also look at the 13b and 13c form as well. So begin by opening the 13.1 financial statement from the Forms and Precedents tab. You will see the Leap for Word add-in appears on the right-hand side of the document. The questions in the add-in follow the questions seen on the court form, and whatever data that is put into the add-in will appear neatly on the form. Therefore, you can simply focus on the add-in and input all relevant data here. You should not be inputting any numerical values into the form directly, as those will not calculate, and the add-in will overwrite those fields if entered onto the form directly. Note that the width of the add-in can be increased or decreased as you prefer, simply by pulling on the arrows here. Many of the handy shortcuts and features of the DivorceMate financial forms can be found replicated in Leap. For example, it is possible to change the form from a court version to an ADR version by clicking on this button here. You will see that the form replaces wording used for court, such as applicant and respondent, on the form. Our add-in has been designed with vertical tabs that you see on the left here for the different sections of the form. In the first section of the add-in, which is the General Details section, you will input information about the relevant party that you are filling out the form for. You will also find the Additional Sections options here, where you can indicate whether you want to add a proposed budget section, a Schedule A, or a Schedule B to the form. Please note that the fields for the other income earners in the home is also found in this section, which you would complete only if you are making or responding to a claim for undue hardship or spousal support. After you have inputted the data in the section, hit the Update button to see the data populate onto the form. One key piece of advice is to hold off from hitting Update too frequently, as it will slow down your progress on the form. Best practice is to hit Update Document after you filled out the full section. Moving on into the income section, enter the monetary values into the add-in for the preset income sources. When you add a number value on its own, for example, $5,000 for employment income, the form will populate that as a monthly value by default. However, you can also use shortcut abbreviations of W for weekly, B for biweekly, and Y for yearly if inputting the values for those time units, and the form will then calculate for you what the monthly value would be and populate that onto the form. So as an example here, I will add 1200 W into the commission line. When I hit Update Document, you will see that the form has calculated the monthly amount, being $5,200. You are also able to change the units of time by clicking here and selecting the applicable option. If there are any notes you'd like to add onto the form regarding the preset income sources, you can just do that on the form itself for the income section. For example, I'll add a note here to the commission line. For the income section items that are already preset on the form, you will have the ability to format the notes as you wish, bolding or highlighting the text as you desire. For additional income that is not one of the preset income sources, you will click on this Add button at the bottom of the section and type in the income source details and amount. After I hit Save and Update Document, you can see that it's been added under line 11. You should use this Add button when you have opted not to create a Schedule A to enumerate these additional income sources. If you do choose to use a Schedule A instead of adding those entries here, you would not use this Add button, but instead would indicate in the General Details tab that you want to add a Schedule A, and then you will see a Schedule A tab appear on the add-in. You should then fill out the applicable fields. Here, as an example, I will add $10,000 for net partnership income. You will see now that this gets populated on line 11, and you can also see that the Schedule A is created at the end of the form. For these and any other items that are added to the form using the plus icon, which are all items that are not preset on the original court form, the ability to format the notes that you want to add is more limited. You will have to add the notes on the add-in itself and not on the form directly, as you will not be able to bold or highlight just specific parts of the notes, as instead it will format the whole data field. Next, let's look at the benefits section. As there are no preset items under benefits, you would use this plus button to add any benefits. As you can see here, I've added a health benefits line, indicating the item name and value. Moving on to the expenses section, you can see it is broken down into the different categories, following the sections in the form. Again, enter the monetary values into the add-in for the pre-existing expense items, and you can use those shortcut abbreviations of W, B, and Y here as well. For additional expense items, use the plus button here under the correct category. In this case, I will add an additional expense under housing. After filling out this whole expense section, I will hit Update, and we can see everything populating and calculating onto the form. To add assets, click on the plus icon. You will then choose the type of asset you would like to add, which will populate into the appropriate table in Part 4 of the form. You should scroll down to see all the types, such as money owed to client or other property. In this instance, I will add the matrimonial home asset, so we'll choose real estate from the dropdown. I'll fill in the information here as well as the values. Be sure to check off the matrimonial home box if that applies. Also check off excluded or disposed of if those circumstances apply to the matter. I'll add in the values here. As mentioned before, if you want to add notes onto the asset items which are not preset on the form, that has to be done in the Add-in panel. If you try to add notes into the form directly, they will become overwritten. As you can see here, I've already added a few bank accounts. You have to select the account type, input the details, account numbers, and values. If none of the drop-down options for the account type apply, you can just type in the account type you would like. For example, I will edit this as a US savings account. Finally, when adding liabilities, you'll click on the plus button again and can choose from the options in the drop-down or add your own liability type. I will add a matrimonial home mortgage in this instance. For any liabilities that are related to the matrimonial home, please make sure you check off this box. The Property on Marriage Date section will provide you with a snapshot of all of the assets and liabilities you have entered in the previous sections. The Summary tab here will summarize the total property, deductions, exclusions, and NFP value. Once you are finished with the financial statement and want to transfer the data into the net family property statement, you will click on the Save Data for Transfer to 13B form. It will change to Data Saved and Transferred to let you know it's been saved. As soon as you edit anything on the add-in again, it will change back to Save Data for Transfer, which reminds you that you need to save again for the revised data input. It is not possible to open the 13B form from this form, so you have to go back to your matter and open the 13B from the Forms and Precedents tab again. As you can see here, the assets and liabilities have all transferred from the 13.1 into this 13B form. To input additional information for each item, just click on the item and edit. The data transfer from 13.1 to 13B is only one way, however, so whatever changes you make on the 13B will not write back and will not be reflected on the 13.1 that it originated from. This follows the same functionality you get in DivorceMate as well. On the NFP add-in, you will enter in the values for the other side. In this example, I will input the respondent's value for the matrimonial home. If there are any assets or liabilities that were not inputted onto the 13.1, but you want to add them onto the 13B that you're working on, you do have the ability to do so by clicking on this Add button at the bottom. This will lead you through the same steps as in the financial form. On this form and the 13C comparison form, the items will auto-update as you add them into the add-in without having to click an Update button. Once you are finished with the 13B and want to transfer the data onto the 13C, hit the Save Data for Transfer to 13C form button. Again, you will have to go back into your matter to the Forms and Precedents tab to open the 13C. We can see here that the data from the 13B has been transferred to this 13C form. Again, you would click into the items to add the other side's position on the same assets and liabilities. You also have the ability to add additional items by clicking on this Add button at the bottom. Keep in mind that any changes made on the 13C do not write back to the 13B, as the data transfer is one way. The Summary tab here provides a summary of the totals divided into the applicant's position or the respondent's position. Note that the ability to change the form into a court form or ADR version is also possible for the NFP and 13C as well. We understand there was a lot of information to take in, as there are many features and steps we wanted to go over on the financial forms today. If you need a review of any of these steps, you can also access the info sheets for the financial forms conveniently from the Forms and Precedents browser, or if you search for them on the LEAP community website. I would now like to hand over the mic to Daniela to discuss other Ontario family court forms you can find in our library.
All Ontario family law court forms are available in our LEAP database. From your family law matter, such as divorce and separation, which I have opened, you click on the Forms and Precedents icon under the Details and Correspondence section of your matter. You then select the LEAP Forms folder. You can see that the forms are neatly organized into different folders. Information completed in the cards and tables in a matter populate onto the forms, saving time for law firms, which in turn increases efficiency. As an example, when I open the Application General, you can see that information on this form populates from the cards and tables throughout the form, such as the court file number, the style of cause, part of the family history, relationship dates, and the children's information. A practical docketing function that we also want to highlight today is the Time, Save, and Close icon in the LEAP ribbon. It is available for every LEAP form and precedent open in Word. When you are done completing the form, select this button and it will create a new time entry. This window provides a time entry for time spent on the document. The timer only counts the time when you are directly working on the form and stops counting time when the document window is minimized. Our more intricate forms have a word add-in that performs at a high level, such as completing complex mathematical equations as seen in the financial forms that Jennifer previously demonstrated. We also include a Leap Forward add-in when it can reconfigure information on a form, such as seen in our Affidavit of Service. Let's look at the Affidavit of Service together. You have the option to leave out or to strike out information not applicable on the form. For the purposes of today, let's select Leave Out. Under Methods of Service, depending on the method of service selected, the text on the form will be reconfigured to suit the method chosen. I will select the mail option as an example. By selecting this option, the text on the affidavit pertains to how the documents were served through this method. Therefore, questions in the add-in will appear regarding this type of service, which I will now complete. The last section in the add-in will ask you if you are signing the document in person or remotely. I will select the in-person option. I will now press the Update Document button at the bottom of the add-in so the information merges onto the form. Now I will complete the rest of the form by typing in my answers directly onto it. When you are at this section of the form, where you list the documents served, if you served, for example, 3 documents, press the plus button twice to create all the rows that you need. Then start typing. All of our court forms provide similar features and formatting to DivorceMate's forms and go above and beyond regular court forms. Another useful product that LEAP offers are starter documents. Starter documents are commonly used documents which include letters and forms that legal specialists routinely send to clients, opposing counsel, process servers, as well as documents they file in court. Starter documents have pre-drafted content in them, which can always be amended by the user as desired. Let's look at one together. These documents are easily accessed under the Forms and Precedents icon under the Details and Correspondence section of your matter. You then select LEAP Starter Documents, where a list of documents will appear. We are going to look at Letter to Client Divorce Certificate together. This letter is advising the client that their divorce certificate is ready for pickup. When you select the letter, if you have more than one client, it will ask you who you are addressing the letter to, as seen in this example. For the purposes of today, I will select Mr. Peter John Chu. Conveniently, this letter pre-populates the law firm's information, the date, who the letter is being addressed to, the file name, the court file number, and the pre-populated text. There is a word added on the right-hand side to enter the date the certificate of divorce was issued on, which is a helpful and easy feature. The letter is now complete, but the text may be amended as you wish. In addition to court forms and starter documents, LEAP has also incorporated DivorceMate's domestic contracts. These are best used when all relevant tables on the matters have been filled out, as they will automatically fill into the contract. Current agreements offered by LEAP are the marriage contract, interim separation agreements, and standard form separation agreements. Users have the option of building from a blank form or one which contains a number of pre-selected clauses. The agreements can be specifically tailored to suit their circumstances. I have opened a blank standard form separation agreement. Additional clauses can be selected by placing the cursor at the section which the new clauses should be inserted, then clicking the Insert Clause button in the LEAP ribbon. Users will see the library of clauses in the right-hand column subcategorized by section, such as parenting, child support, and spousal support. Selecting the desired clause will then import it into the contract. In the versions that have pre-selected clauses, clauses that are optional are clearly labeled for ease of identification. Unneeded clauses may simply be deleted. Edits can also be made to the clauses once they have appeared in the document. I will now ask Christine to go over how the DM Tools Calculations app has been integrated with LEAP, rounding out LEAP as your all-in-one solution for family law.
Thank you, Daniela. From your LEAP client matter, go to the LEAP toolbar at the top, click on the DM Tools Calculation app, and you will automatically be directed into the Tools calculation. If you've not yet created a calculation for this matter, a new window will pop open. You will be asked to confirm who is the payor and who is the recipient of spousal support. This is critical information in order for the calculator to properly configure your calculation. If spousal support is not an issue, Instead, verify the payor and recipient of child support. In this case, we have John as the payor, Sue as the recipient, and I'm going to click OK. Note that all of the basic information, such as the parties' names, their genders, ages, and residency, as well as the child's name and date of birth, and the relationship dates, have been pre-populated from your LEAP matter. By the way, for those of you who prefer to work with a bigger font, and I count myself in that group, you can go to the magnification tool at the top and increase the size of the font. You can then proceed to input all additional information in the calculation. The various input fields and settings for the calculation can be accessed through the blue links, the plus signs beside the various sections of the printout, as well as in the Options toolbar at the top. Let's assume that the payor is earning employment income, that's T-forward income, of $100,000. I'm going to input it into the software, click OK, and it now shows on our screen in yellow. I'm also going to input some information for the recipient. Let's assume that the recipient is earning non-taxable income, in other words, income that does not show up on a tax return, of $30,000. You can see that the printout has now already formulated some of your results. We have child support at the top and the spousal support according to the Spousal Support Advisory Guidelines in this section. The lower section shows the support scenarios at each of these points in the spousal support range. To save your calculation, click on the Save icon in the top toolbar. I recommend that you name it with something that will identify it for you down the road. So for this calculation, I'm going to call it Sole Parenting, Payor at $100,000, and click OK. You'll now see that the calculation has been saved and is showing in the column on the left-hand side of your screen. I'm now going to create a new calculation. To do so, I go to the New Calculation feature in the top right-hand corner, click on New Calculation, and once again, I now have a blank calculation that I can complete. In this calculation, let's assume that John is earning employment income of $120,000 this time. And we'll keep Sue at the same $30,000 of non-taxable income. To save this calculation, again, I would go to the Save feature, but I just wanted to let you know that even if you forget to hit the Save icon, it will automatically prompt you to save the minute you try to exit the calculation or the app. For example, if I try to create a new one, you'll see it's asking me if I would like to save my changes. I'm going to click Yes, and now I'm going to name this calculation. Once again, I'm going to say Sole Parenting, and I'm going to say that the payor is earning $120,000. If I decide that I want to make a copy of one of these rather than starting fresh with a new calculation, I simply click on the calculation which I wish to copy, and I then proceed to click on the Save As icon. This will save a copy. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to name it in this new example as a shared parenting situation. And then I'm going to make the necessary changes in the calculation. You'll see I've now got 3 calculations at the side, and once again I will save this calculation. To see all the details pertaining to each of these calculations, simply click on the calculation, and at the very bottom on the left-hand side, you will see the creation date and modification date, as well as the person who created or modified the document. To print this calculation, click on the print feature in the icon at the top, and it will be printed wherever you determine. To delete a calculation, hover over the calculation which you wish to delete and click on the delete icon beside it. You will be asked to confirm that you're deleting it because once you do, it cannot be undone. If you wish to save a copy of the calculation directly into your client's LEAP matter, click on the PDF to LEAP icon, and a PDF copy of the calculation will appear in the list of documents created in the LEAP matter. It might take a few moments for the PDF to be processed, and here it is in our LEAP matter. Keep in mind that this is a PDF only, so if you try to open it from here, you will have very limited abilities to do anything with it other than send it to a client or send it to the opposing counsel. If you wish to actually manipulate the calculation, you will have to go back into your Tools app and go back into the calculation and revise it.
Thank you, Christine. LEAP is always looking to continuously improve and adapt to users' needs. To that end, feedback is always welcomed. Your feedback or requests can be submitted by clicking the Content Feedback button in the LEAP Help Center or LEAP blog. Alternatively, users may access content feedback in the forms themselves by selecting the Provide Feedback button in the LEAP ribbon in Word. Once selected, it will send you to the same content feedback request form from the LEAP community website. Finally, rest assured that LEAP continuously invests time and resources into the development of our family law content and product offering. Stay tuned for new updates and improvements.
Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. On behalf of LEAP, Christine, Daniela, and I hope you found this session informative and see the value that LEAP has to offer for family law firms. For anyone interested in learning more, don't hesitate to contact your practice advisor. Thank you and have a great day.